Hello, my beautiful people. Thank you for watching my channel. My name is Pinkie the Housewife. I have a very big project that I'm working on. I'm helping someone that is very dear to my heart to share her life story. And she is pretty excited about this. She is 99 years old, born in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. And she's been trying to get this done for a few years now. So that's where I come in. I'm very honored to be able to do this and share her story with all of you.
We walked to the high school in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, which was 3.5 miles one way. So which means I walked 7 miles a day to school unless it was a rainy day or real something bad. My father would take us in the car.
So you're meaning you walked 3.5 miles to school every day?
Yeah, yes.
And 3.5 miles back.
Back.
Holding 7 miles every day.
And that was a white bus would take their children on the bus.
Okay.
And it would pass us in the road. And we would just say, it was really, they wouldn't pick up, you couldn't take blacks in that in with that car. I told you about the doctor.
Yes.
I had to wait until it was time for his office visit for blacks. It was bad. And then books, I was a reader and all, but a lot of the pages were torn from books, but that we had to get to study, and yet we survived.
Can you give me a picture on the school that you went to? A description, or tell the viewers about the school?
The school that I went to, walked to the first school, the little primary school, was a brick building with 2 rooms. And it was a convenient little thing. We learned there. The books, as I told you, were secondhand. And I was interested in the reading and the storytelling from the plays, but you had to skip a number of pages because they were thrown away.
So let me get this straight before you go on. You're saying, and I think you mentioned before to me, that the school books that you did get, they were secondhand books.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of the books had pages torn out. And they had writing and markings all in it, so it made it hard for you to learn.
Hard. You had to skip that page and take an imagination if it were a reading of a story, and go on and on until you went on. So from that, I went into high school.
Okay. Before you went into high school, that school, was it a one-room school back in 1923?
Two teachers.
It was two teachers
in that building.
Okay.
And believe it was wood, may have been coal stove for heating, a wood stove, one of those stoves.
Okay.
We had in each room.
So it was like a space heater type thing, where they put wood and stuff in?
Wood and stuff in.
Okay.
And we didn't have a janitor, so none of that. Some of those would, the teacher would do that themselves.
So what did you all do for lunch? How did you all have lunch there, or did you have lunch at all?
That's a good question. I remember that they had lunch. The teacher would cook.
Okay.
She would have lunch for us there. We had lunch every day.
Okay.
But that teacher would do. One of them would cook that food, and he, of course, there was a good nearly 20 students in that school.
And so
you had food.
What age were you from in that school? What age did you go to? From what age till?
From the beginning of schooling, which was maybe 6 or 7 years of age
Okay.
until I got into the ninth grade, going into the ninth grade.
Okay.
So in the ninth grade, I the arm was broken when I was the senior year, I'll say, in that grade school. I'll call it that year.
Okay.
I think I was 11 or 12 years old.
Okay. So you stayed from the beginning of school when you
From
was
that
first
school on through
to
the
9th grade.
9, 10, and 11,
Right.
and 12.
Okay.
Through that school in Fort Gibson where I had to walk.
Okay, that's
That's
7
the
miles
walking, yes.
total.
And so walking there, it was a different thing. You still had the segregated books, and not the segregated books, the books that were used. Prior to our getting them, and we had activities and those kind of things that went on as you would in high school. I thought we had a very good teacher. I had a very good teacher of English and literature.
Okay.
And then there was a good math teacher too as well. With good teaching, you had good quality of teaching, and then of course you had the way of life that you were told in pictures and in talking to us. There would be assemblies every Friday, and those assemblies were assemblies of telling you about yourself and life. It was just like a counseling kind of thing in a great big body. I remember how you had to sit up and how they told you what to do and all of that sort of thing, and it made you feel you feel that you were learning something else besides the books.
I just want to make sure we still have a picture of what life was like for you as a child, going to school, coming home. Did you have any choice? Because the reason why I asked this question is because we received a lot of comments, and people wanted to know what was life like after school for you.
After school for me,
yes.
We had the chores, the farm chores. You had to cows to milk.
Okay.
And they had a separator. We had a separator. We had to separate that cream.
Okay.
To there, and then you had to feed the hogs.
Okay.
And you had to gather the eggs.
Okay.
There were chores that you had to help.
You had
to do.
Now,
and then you had to do your studying under lamplight.
Under lamplight.
And you had good lamps, and you kept the lamp.
And when you say lamplight back in the 1920s,
yes.
Can you give everyone a description? Because right now we have lights, you just turn them on and...
No, you just had good old lamps with oil in.
Okay, the oil lamps.
And that was one of your chores. My chore was to keep the lamp
lit or something?
Lit, the thing burning. Keep the globe clean. Mine was to wash the globe quite often.
Okay.
And that. We had strict parents, but they weren't mean parents. They were that's nice. Okay. And they always told you, you're pretty. You've done this well.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a comment. Someone did ask, they wanted to know about the clothing back in the 20s.
Clothing.
School clothes versus everyday home clothes. Could you elaborate on that? Could you speak on that?
My mother made our dresses mostly. And sometimes they were made from flour sacks. He would buy flour by sacks, and you'd make skirts or blouses. You was a seamstress almost. She made, and she had the machine, and she was sewing almost every day on that machine.
So flour
so,
sacks.
Flour sacks, and then they would buy material sometimes. But very frugal. My parents was saving. They saved money.
Okay.
And for
I'm
us,
still
they
trying to get
saved
my
it.
brain wrapped around the flour sacks.
Yes.
So
flour sacks were colored.
okay,
I
so
mean,
you buy flour and
yes.
it's in a big John
Big-
sack.
Yes.
And once, do you wait until you?
No, they have a can or something.
Okay, you pour the flour into the can.
Into it and be sure a lid was on it.
Okay,
Mm.
and then she take the
That
sack
sack
and make
wash
clothes
and
out of
made
it.
clothes out of it.
Oh, okay, guys.
So that's where that went for a long time.
Okay.
And your shoes and socks, stockings were bought for the women,
Okay.
coats and that sort of thing.
Okay.
They always had us dressed fairly well
Okay.
for school and to keep
And
going in it.
okay.
So I went to school and
So you
I went
left. You went from very young, first grade or elementary to the
To-
ninth grade.
to the
And
ninth.
what happened after the ninth grade?
ninth grade, 9 through 12.
9 through 12.
So I studied all those classes and made well in them.
Okay.
And so maybe some of them didn't, but our family did well. My brothers and sisters, my brother and sister did well in going to school with them. So I entered college. I was 15 as a freshman in college, and I studied pretty well.
Okay.
And I remember over in where you kept studying, and I believe at this time with college, you, they paid room and board for your
Okay.
stay at the
Okay.
school, at college. I believe it was sophomore year. I was on a play. I remember that play, name of that play, The Imaginary Invalid, by Molaire, I believe. Well, anyway, after that play was over, I was asked. I guess there must have been people watching. In fact, it was crowded down there. Langston had a good crowd, but anyway, these people came from New York.
Okay.
And I remember being asked, they were, and then they came to me and asked, said they had there on Broadway that they could, they wanted me to go, that it was the time that they could, I said, I would fit that character they saw in that play that
Yes.
they were about to give there on Broadway.
Okay.
And I said, oh, no.
And what age were you?
I must
During
have
this
been
time?
about going into 16 at that point.
16. Okay.
And I said, oh, no. My parents know that I'm here not to go to New York to do something like that.
Okay.
They wouldn't hear to that. She said, but you would, look what you'd be,
So-
she couldn't talk to me to that.
Now, your viewers, I did have a comment. They wanted to know what age, you can look here and tell them yourself, what age did you go off to college? Because this is, they had a lot of comments on this.
I had 15 years age. I was 15. I wasn't going into college. A freshman in college.
15.
At 15. And I went on and I graduated early and started teaching. They looked at, that was a big problem because it was an elementary school that I was asked to do with another teacher
Yeah.
thing. And my dad said, yes, she's strong. She's capable. Or is she strong enough to handle those students. She looks so young. She looks just like the students. He said, my dad said, well, I think she's capable of doing what she's supposed to do.
And that was because you was 15 years old
And
in college, and you was teaching.
No. I'm jumping into my having finished college.
Oh, you hadn't finished college.
Yeah,
And what age would?
It was about 17 or
17. So
18.
you went off to college at age 15.
Yes.
And then you start teaching at 17 or 18.
It's about 18. I believe
18
it
years
was.
old, start teaching.
Yes.
Yes. So I can see why they looked at you as
they
a
thought it
child
was their
yourself.
Childhood. So that was those years. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the students, and enjoyed because I had elementary discipline kind of thing.
Right.
Teaching, very good, strong teacher, and